They said his prayers could wake the dead. They said his touch can heal the sick, open blind eyes, and make barren women sing for joy. But no one ever asked why the miracles only came when someone innocent cried. In a small town where faith was currency and power wore a collar, one man's left hand became his curse. This is the story of the pastor's left hand. Pastor David Oladimeji was once a humble man. Before the fame, before the crowds, he was just a preacher with a stammer, a man who believed his voice could never move mountains. But one night, everything changed. He has been fasting for 40 days, alone in a small church in a quiet town of Owo. His knees were bleeding from prayers, his stomach twisted from hunger. He was asking for one thing: Lord, use me. The night was silent until the wind whispered his name, David. He opened his eyes. The candles had gone out. Only the midnight remained. A shadow stood before the altar, not tall, not short, not clear, but heavy. The air thickened. You want to be used? It asked. Then give me your left hand. He thought it was the Lord, so he stretched it out, trembling. The shadow smiled, and fire ran through his vein. He screamed. When he woke up, his left hand glowed faintly in the dark, like a coal that refused to die out. From that night, his ministry exploded. Word spread quickly. A boy blind from birth saw after David touched him. A woman with cancer was healed during service. A man who couldn't walk stood up and danced. People traveled from far villages to see the young pastor with the miracle hand. Every time he lifted that hand, something happened. But what no one knew was that every time a miracle occurred, someone innocent somewhere suffered. A child died mysteriously. A pregnant man would miscarry. A kind man would fall sick for no reason. At first, David didn't notice, but soon, he started seeing flashes faces of the people who screamed silently whenever he performed a miracle. Their eyes haunted him. One night after a powerful service, David saw blood dripping from his left hand. He panicked. Lord, what's happening to me? But the voice returned deeper now. You asked to be used. You are being used. David realized it wasn't God who answered him that night. It was something else. He tried to stop performing miracles, but the hand moved on its own. Whenever he saw suffering, it twitched. It wanted to act. It hungered. The church elders begged him to continue. People believe in you, Pastor. You are chosen. He smiled outwardly, but inside, he was drowning in guilt. Then came a Daisy, a little girl with a failing heart. A mother carried her to the crusade, tears soaking her wrapper. Please, Pastor, she begged, save my child. David froze. He knew what would happen if he used his hand again. But the crowd shouted, pray for her. His hand began to burn. He fell to his knees, trembling, whispering, Lord, forgive me. Then the left hand rose on its own. He touched the child. She opened her eyes. The crowd erupted in praise. But somewhere, in the same town, a young boy drowned in a well. David felt it, the pain, the loss, as though a knife went through his chest. He dropped to the floor and screamed. Weeks passed. The miracles continued. The church grew, and so did the deaths. David became rich, respected, and feared, but he couldn't sleep. Every night, he saw a long line of faces, the people his miracle had stolen life from. They stood in the dark, staring, their mouths shut. He began wrapping his left hand in white clothes during sermons, claiming it was to protect the anointing. No one questioned him. No one dared. One night, his assistant pastor, Brother Samuel, saw him talking to the darkness behind the altar. Samuel hid and listened. "You promised me glory," David was shouting. "You said only the guilty would pay." "The innocents are the prize," the voice replied. Samuel ran horrified. The next day, he told the elders. The church turned against David. They called him a false prophet. They broke into the church to expose him, but when they entered, he was gone. Only the left hand remained, still wrapped in white cloth, twitching. Years passed. A new preacher arrived in Owo, gentle, humble, full of the word. He found an old glove buried near the altar, blackened and cold. Curious, he put it on his left hand. That night, the wind whispered again, "You want to be used?" Meanwhile, far away, David lived in hiding. He had cut off his left hand years ago, hoping to stop the curse. But he could still feel it, crawling, reaching, alive. One night, as he slept, he heard knocking on his door. He opened it and froze. There it was, his hand, crawling towards him like a spider, blood dripping from its wrist. It climbed his body and wrapped around his throat. "You made me what I am," it whispered. "Now I will use you." The next morning, they found his house empty, only his Bible open to Matthew 6:23. "If your eye is evil, your whole body shall be full of darkness." They say sometimes, when pastors in that region lay their hands on people, they feel a strange heat, like something unseen watching. And in the old church of Owo, the shadow still appears to desperate men of God. "You want to be used? Then give me your left hand." Not every power that looks divine comes from heaven. Not every miracle is a blessing. Sometimes, what you call anointing is just darkness wearing a white robe. And those who trade their conscience for power will one day be judged by the same hands they raised. Power without purity is poison. Faith without discernment is deception. And sometimes, the greatest miracle is the courage to say no to the wrong spirit.